We begin with day 4 of the Republican National Convention. Tonight, Donald Trump will take center stage to deliver his address and formally accept the Republican nomination for president. Reports say that after the assassination attempt on Saturday, Trump is expected to emphasize a call for unity across party lines. And tonight's final theme is Make America Great Once Again. The former president is set to lay out what his campaign says is his vision for a, quote, new golden age for America. Yesterday focused on the theme of Make America Strong Again. Speakers included Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who highlighted issues at the southern border, a Gold Star family, the aunt of a service member killed during the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, and Trump's former trade director, Peter Navarro, who was released from federal prison earlier in the day after serving a 4-month sentence for defying a congressional subpoena. And last night, Ohio Senator JD Vance gave his first address since being named former President Donald Trump's running mate. The first-term senator is only 39 years old, and he used his youth and backstory to make his case to voters while also attacking President Biden's policies. His wife, Usha, a former lawyer, introduced him.
It's safe to say that neither JD nor I expected to find ourselves in this position. But it's hard to imagine a more powerful example of the American dream. A boy from Middletown, Ohio.
I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America. And in 4 short years, Donald Trump reversed decades of betrayals inflicted by Joe Biden and the rest of the corrupt Washington insiders. To the people of Middletown, Ohio, and all the forgotten communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and every corner of our nation, I promise you this: I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
The CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi is joining us now with more from Milwaukee. So we finally heard from JD Vance. And, you know, when he was announced as the VP pick, there's some questions about why him. He's a former harsh Trump critic. He's now an ultra MAGA, in some ways out of step with some of the things that Donald Trump is saying now. When we heard his speech, did we get a little more insight into why he was picked as VP?
Yeah, good morning, Anne-Marie. JD Vance is the story that the Republican Party is trying to tell. He's the kid from Ohio, the son of people who lost union jobs, who then had to go on to join the Marines to get out of the economic conditions that he was in. He then went on to serve for 4 years before then going back to school, getting his degree, and then going on to law school. Part of the reason that they chose JD Vance is really that Ohio part. That is what's really key. And in his speech last night, he kept mentioning Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, also known as the Blue Wall. That's the Democratic Blue Wall that was broken by Donald Trump in 2016. He flipped those states. They then flipped back to Joe Biden in 2020. And those states are key. If you win Pennsylvania, that's the ball game. That's the whole election. So the goal there is to really shore up support with young men, you know, perhaps disenfranchised young men who are upset about their economic conditions. JD Vance is someone who can speak to that. He can speak to those issues of, look, I know you're facing hardship. I know you're facing an uphill battle. I did too, but look at what I did with my life. Look at the agenda we're putting forth. That's really the message that he's trying to send, and that's part of the message that he delivered here last night.
And so you actually spoke to a few delegates after his speech. I want to play some of that sound.
I personally was hoping that he would be the vice presidential pick because I saw him as someone who could pick and bring in not just one state, but multiple states because of his background and because of his work ethic and his foundation.
You've got somebody that's still in his 30s, still a young Republican. It's going to bring a lot of energy and, you know, answer a lot of the criticism to, you know, Donald Trump's youthful energy in his 70s.
So it looks like the delegates like what they're hearing, but what about, you know, those people who are undecided? That's really where this election is going to be, I guess, called. Can you give us a sense of just what the response was to this speech?
Right. I mean, I think this pick was important because it showed that they're not really playing for the independents. JD Vance, as you mentioned before, is a MAGA movement guy. Even though he was a never Trumper before, he has a lot of the same policies, mostly all of the same policies that Donald Trump does. This isn't an appeal to the middle. It's a shoring up of the base. And that's really what they're focused on, is ginning up their base, making sure they're reaching out to every Trump supporter and making sure that they have a plan to vote in November. That's part of the reason he is picked. And it also kind of speaks to me about how Donald Trump is feeling about what is really, at this point, his heir apparent. He feels so confident in this race that he is willing, post-assassination attempt, with the positive polls and kind of getting this wind at their back, that he can now pick someone who is younger, who can carry on his message, and who can look forward to what is going to be probably the future of the Republican Party. It's probably, 2028 feels like a long way away. I want to get through 2024 first. But you can only imagine, after serving, if he wins, 4 years as vice president, what this would mean for JD Vance come 2028. That's part of the reason why they picked him. Is it's not to really appeal to that middle, but rather look ahead and look at what the Republican Party is going to be cemented as going forward.
We also heard from some family members of Donald Trump, including a rather young one that we haven't heard from before, his granddaughter, Kai, but also Don Jr. I'm going to play some sound.
There is tough, and then there's Trump tough. And the good news is, America is Trump tough.
The media makes my grandpa seem like a different person, but I know him for who he is. He's very caring and loving. He truly wants the best for this country, and he will fight every single day to make America great again.
All right, so I don't know how old Kai is, but she seems pretty young. Is this an attempt to sort of show another side of Donald Trump?
I think Kai is about 17, Anne-Marie. But yeah, it is. This is different than what we've seen before from the Trump family. Normally we've seen Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump out there being the fighters for their father. But we're seeing a softer side of the Trump family. And I really think that speaks to how that post-assassination attempt is feeling and reverberating through that family. Obviously, it was an extremely traumatic moment for them to all have experienced it. They have mostly rallied around their father and grandfather and been there for him. You've seen them in the box here every night, just sitting next to him. Last night, it was a stark image of him surrounded by his grandchildren being there for him. But yeah, it is a little bit opening of the door as we're talking about what the future of the Republican Party looks like. We're not only seeing Don Jr. and Eric, but we're also seeing the grandchildren coming out. This is different than what I've seen before. I've been covering this campaign for about a year now, and it's the first time I've really seen this family step forward into the limelight in the way that they have.
Yeah, in this way in particular. Yeah, Olivia, thank you very much. All right, a reminder, we have complete coverage of the Republican National Convention today. Special coverage begins on America Decides tonight. That's starting at 5 p.m. Eastern.